Hey, Mark Willie, how are you, my friend?
Dave, I was able to go on LinkedIn and drop that live feed in the events page. So if someone can't get to it, now they can.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I don't know what was going on there with the intro, but everything got all mixed and matched there. So we are live. We're rocking and rolling. We are live, my friend. We're having one of those days. Are you having a hard time finding the intro? Because we are right now on screen.
Okay, I didn't realize we're live. Everyone, I thought I was talking to Dave, and I am. So one of to explain what just happened is technology.
It's always something, right?
And we do have people that are new to our audience. We have some regulars that sometimes it's hard to jump on the show. So we have the event page. What I was telling Dave is I just put the live stream in the event page, and then Dave was telling me that our intro was gone. So you get us for the intro, and happy Friday, Dave Cooper.
Hey, listen, what's a better Friday than having Mark Willie for the intro, man? You know, look, I'm trying to catch my beard up to yours. I got a few years to go here. And you've had an interesting week, haven't you?
It's been a crazy week. If you notice, I got something different going on.
I do. What is it?
So that is a logo of another contractor. That's right. I'm supporting a different contractor other than myself.
Hey, that's all right. But that's what we do is we promote others on this show. That's what the whole show is about. So I absolutely love it. And today's going to be a great show, Mark. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of us going to be on the show today.
I tell you what, every time a new guest's on, please go to the bottom of your screen and hit that like button, because if we get a like for every guest that's on today, we're gonna explode Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
I love exploding it. So we are. So please hit that like and share button right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And always thank you for joining us today. And if you're not following Mark Bare Naked Willie and Dave Cooper on LinkedIn, please hit that follow button. And as always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us continue to bring wonderful content to the world. Now, here's what's exciting about today. We have some real innovators in design coming on the show that are not only looking at how to build better structures, they're looking to build healthier structures, more energy efficient structures, and they are not just building to code. They're going above code. And that's part of the whole title of this, right? 1977 to 1994, and we are building to what? 2030?
We're hoping this dialogue lets people know that it's actually beyond 2030. I just put that in because that's a catchy number.
Yeah.
The 1977 and the 1994 in the chat. If you know what those dates mean and why they apply to this, call it out. And if you want to be funny and heckle the heck out of our guests and make up your own story, the best story wins nothing but a thumbs up.
Or 2.
Oh, or 4.
Heck yeah. Well, hey, let's get on with this. People are busy, man. It's Friday. Why don't we bring in a special guest that nobody else probably knows?
Well, Michael's surprised us today, so let's surprise him, Dave.
I love it. What is happening, Zach? How are you?
Happy Friday. I'm well. How are you doing? It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. Nobody told me it was Black Hat Day. I don't have a black hat. I got
really
black hat.
I got a black skull hat.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Very nice.
So I'm all set now. I fit in with everybody. I'm half bald. I got to put something on my head to keep it warm.
I'm right there with you.
Zach Semke, Passive House Accelerator. Introduce yourself, brother.
All right. Yeah. I'm a director of the Passive House Accelerator, and we're an online platform for an open source platform for sharing best practices and great information about high performance building design and construction. So it's great to be here, and I'm super excited to be able to introduce Michael. Should I do that now?
We should introduce Michael. Mark
awesome.
Disappeared from his chair for a second, but he's back.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Michael, as many of you know, is a partner at Baxt Ingui Architects in New York City. And Baxt Ingui is is just a really highly collaborative architectural design firm, and it's become a leader in passive house design, particularly for passive house retrofits, which is one of the toughest nuts to crack, but Michael makes it look easy, Michael and his team. He's internationally recognized as a leading practitioner in the passive house community, and he speaks at national and international conferences all the time, now more virtually than physically, but he's on the circuit. He's also, I think, really importantly, he's a master at bringing people together for common purpose. So this is true on the jobs that he runs, where he's built over time this collaborative community of practice, and hopefully we'll hear about that, of builders and subcontractors who are learning from one another. So these are sometimes competitors, but they're collaborators in learning about best practice. And it's also true for the Passive House Accelerator, which Michael founded as this open source platform, and for sharing information and inviting people from all walks of life and all flavors of passive house to come together to share knowledge and innovation. He's a great person. He's a dear friend. Welcome, Michael.
Oh, I love it. There you go. There we have Michael Ingui in person on our show.
Cheers. That was a good intro, Zach.
Yeah,
it was a good intro.
Zach speaks so well. I don't like going after Zach.
Whatevs.
I was thinking the same thing. Michael, go ahead, man. Why don't you give us the quick rundown, Michael? I think, after that intro, you really don't have to say anything about yourself other than you're God, and the rest of us are minions in the world here, is what it sounds like. So I'll bow down to you, but why don't you take a few moments? Why don't you introduce yourself, introduce Baxt Ingui Architects and what you guys are all about, because we're going to have a couple more special guests from the architectural firm, your team members, come on, and we're going to do a hell of a presentation today. So we're looking forward to it.
Cool. Thanks. Well, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I love the show. It's cool. So Baxt Ingui. So I joined my partner, Ben Baxt, who I believe is 76 now. I joined him in 94, been his partner since 2001. And he really started the collaborative nature of the office. I mean, he's always worked this way, and it's been a pleasure. I still remember when I was going to go work for him, and I was going to stay a year and then jump, because that's what you do in architecture. And once you get to work with Ben, you never jump. It's just such a nice atmosphere. So we've kind of grown since then, and it's a fun office. And I think a lot of people we bring in, they're the same way, where some of the people that are on today, but also some of the others in the office, we have a really good crew, and they're so good at it does make it easy. And part of what allows us to really focus on design is having some really great team members in the office. We've gotten some to have the ability to work with some really great people like Ed May and John and Kramer and Kevin Brennan, and they again make things easy. And then you have our contractors. We've got some great contractors in New York, so we're lucky. It makes doing architecture fun. It definitely makes it easier, and it lets us really go pretty fast with Passive House. It lets us really develop this stuff. And Amy, Frankie, and Will, who are coming on, will tell you more about that. But once you have this crew that lets you work this way, it's really nice. You feel pretty fortunate.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that 100%. It's always fortunate when we all get the opportunity to work with people that we trust, that we admire, and obviously are good teammates, right? Because it takes a team to do all the things that we're doing.
Yeah, true.
Have at it, Mark.
There's an interesting segue there. So we just heard about Baxt Ingui, and while Zach is still with us, why don't you go ahead and also share the backstory of Passive House Accelerator, so people can see that connection and why that happened. I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah. So the Accelerator started about a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer, or 2 years ago, and then it launched a little while afterwards. And I started it because I love the conferences; they're great, but I really wanted to try to create a platform where more people could continue with that acceleration that happened every time I went to a conference. And so we developed it, and Matt Rothenberg, who's kind of the acting CTO on that and has been fantastic at building that site, was really helpful. But honestly, I was not great at it. It's just not what I do. I mean, I like bringing people together, and it was fun. But then Zach was available, and I realized that he was possible. And Zach has just taken it to new levels. I mean, Zach can see so far ahead. He brings so many people together. And he speaks incredibly well. But Zach's ability to kind of bring those folks together, go well beyond even Passive House into different embodied carbon areas and other things, and just really kind of make it happen. He's been, director is a great title for him. It's been nice. And again, talking about making life easy. I'm on a call for like 10 minutes with Zach, and all of a sudden, all this great stuff happens. And I'm telling you, he's shaking his head, but it really does. It's the weirdest thing. 2 weeks later, poof.
This hat is not fitting anymore. I don't know what's going on with my head here.
Dave, I got to interrupt and give a backstory. So what happens before they have a conference call with people? Michael and Zach talk, and Zach lays out all these good ideas. And right when the conference call begins, all of a sudden, Michael starts sharing all of Zach's ideas, so that when it's Zach's turn to talk, he doesn't know what to say because Michael just stole all of his ideas. So
I'm sure his staff can attest to the same dynamic at the office. I'm looking forward to the stories. What a jerk.
It sounds to me like, Zach, can you put your numbers in the comments so everybody can reach out to you for good ideas? I'm lacking on a regular basis of those things anymore.
This is very kind. To take it with a grain of salt. That's all I have to say.
Zach, thank you so much for the introduction.
My pleasure.
Michael has a slew of people. We can't wait to have you on again soon. And I think Dave's jealous. You're going to have to get him one of those cool hats.
I do. I need one. I'll wear it. Bring it.
There you go.
All right. It's on its way.
All right. Hey, Zach, thanks again so much. Have a good one. And
thanks a lot.
We'll see you later.
All right. Take care.
All right. There we go. That leaves, there was 4. Now there is 3, but there's soon to be more. Michael, you have a presentation for us. Why don't you kick us off however you want to kick us off here?
Cool. Let me see if I can share a screen correctly.
Yep.
There you go.
It's kind of nice, Dave. Michael gets to do that tech today, and you and I get to just go along for the ride, brother.
I asked him, I said, you got 2 screens? He said, yeah. I said, well, you can do this today.
Well, I'm getting a little window that's turning around right now, so I'm not sure I can. We'll see.
Okay. Well, you know what? I can do it from my end.
Yeah, I'll wait till it thinks.
It really does. The live streaming stuff takes up a lot of the CPUs, and let me see if I'll pull it up, and that way we do not get delayed. How about that?
Cool. Go for it.
All right. So slide 1.
That's it, right, Michael?
Oh, did he freeze?
Michael, can you hear our audio?
Let's see. Let me go back here. Hey, Michael, can you hear us okay? Mark, I'm going to kick him and let him jump back in.
Okay, I'll send him a text.
Good. Well, hey, maybe we just bring in one of his cohorts to pick up where he left off, huh?
Who's first? Is that Amy?
I believe it is Amy, yes. Let me go in here and take a look.
Sorry, I'm
texting Amy fellow. Amy, you're getting pulled into this, so I hope you're ready. Here we go.
I'm ready.
Amy fella, an architect at Baxt Ingui. What is happening, Amy?
Not much. How are you guys?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Lost Michael for a minute there, so we figured we'd bring. I think Michael's back in again. Let's see. Hey, we went on without you, Michael. Sorry.
Amy is just fine.
I mean, absolutely brilliant. We don't need you anymore.
but I do want to introduce her because Amy's like a great example. So it started with us right out of school. New York Passive House board member, and has been really instrumental in helping us create this repeatable process. It's been really, it's been great to have Amy on board. And Amy, you can start to talk a little bit about some of the slides that are coming up.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
sure.
put them in. Here we go. So
All right. So this is just a sampling of some of the passive house projects we've worked on. Some of them are in Manhattan and some of them are in Brooklyn. And as you can see, they're all retrofit projects, row house masonry retrofits. And even though it's a similar building type, they all have their different challenges and um, different styles, and of course, different clients with different needs and their own specific, uh, requests and you know, and and challenges. So um, we can go to the next.
I have a question here, Amy, right out of the bat. So, not everyone is familiar with New York streets, and you guys have a lot of historic, beautiful vintage buildings like we see in these photos, and then you have a lot of row homes. So, since you target the existing buildings and the row homes, and some folks aren't familiar with that architecture and not familiar with passive house, can you tell people what it's like to deal with a row home of an existing building when you're going for a passive house level?
Sure. Yeah. So so first of all, most of these buildings are landmarked. And so we do have a rigorous process that we have to go through to, submit our drawings and designs to landmarks. Many of them require uh, public hearings if we're doing a large addition in the back. So, and then the other big component that landmarks cares about are the windows. So with passive house windows, they obviously have a different uh, construction, and they're totally different formats. Typically, a townhouse will have regular sliding double hung windows, and a passive house will not have the sliding double hungs don't work out very well. So simulated double hungs was a challenge that we had with landmarks in the beginning. But overall, the row house model actually helps us with the passive house model, because it usually means that we have two shared walls, and the only exposed walls are the front and the back and the roof. So that actually helps the model significantly, because you have conditioned space on each side. And the one on the bottom, second from the left with the large rear addition, that had an alleyway, and so that was actually exposed on three sides. So it just makes it a more of a challenge. You have to be more careful about your insulating details, and it's just harder to meet that passive house certification level with the more exposed walls that you have. But generally, it helps us. It helps the model significantly.
That's a great answer. And I think it's great to point out that while there's a lot of science behind the steps that have gone here, there's an overwhelming sense of beauty in the design, right? And to me, that's great when you have this attractive transformation of existing buildings, but it does have the science kind of hanging out there. I'm glad you pointed out the Carroll Gardens, because that is just breathtaking. How would you like to have that as your backyard addition? Beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. And, I want to point out to everybody, so people understand, passive house does not mean just new construction and a new house. And I think this is what's so important about this. You are taking older structures that I know for a fact weren't designed with passive house in mind, or energy efficiency, or any of the things that we talk about today in building science. So I think it's super important for the viewers to understand that, yes, you can even take a row home, townhome, infill, any of these, and actually turn them into a passive project.
That's right.
Perfect.
Yes.
Michael, you're really getting off easy. I think bringing in Amy was just right.
Way to go.
Right. All right, slide 2.
So
Mike,
yeah, I'll jump into the next couple. Yeah. So what's nice about it, and kind of talking about why things can get easier. One of the things that we did was we got most of our office Passive House certified. And we were lucky. We've got our 3 teachers are Ed May, John Mitchell, and Kramer Silkworth, all of whom work with us. So they were great teachers. And having everybody certified is really helpful. It gets everybody excited about the different pieces, and it's helpful. And again, we're a collaborative office. You can see Ben in the bottom right there as well. Ben took the course. I mean, and Ben's been doing passive. In fact, did a passive solar pool. I mean, way back, has had solar on his roof. So in terms of just always wanting to do energy efficient, we've been doing it for quite a while, and passive just brings us to that next level. You can go to the next one. And then, as we mentioned, we like to work in a collaborative way. We learned painfully on our first passive house that some of the details that were coming over and that had been shown to us really weren't going to work. They weren't going to be repeatable. They weren't going to be inexpensive enough. They weren't going to be easy. That house got certified. It's actually, I think, the first certified passive house in Manhattan. It's also LEED Platinum. But we had a client who wanted it and wanted it really badly. And that wouldn't have worked for everything else. So one of the projects that's coming up next was one of Amy's, and we really started a repeatable approach. But what this slide shows is the other thing we did starting on that project, which is we required every contractor we work with to meet with each other every so often and share all their secrets. Now that seems crazy, and a lot of the contractors knew of each other, but not really. That first meeting was kind of awkward, and nobody wanted to show up. But like, all right. So they showed up, and that meeting was only 5 or 6 people, and it went for like an hour and a half. It was great. Second meeting went for like 3 or 4 hours. Everybody asked us if we could have it at night so they can go out for drinks afterwards. By the 4th or 5th meeting, it had really grown to much bigger than what we're seeing here. We actually had to do it in 2 meetings. And then what you're looking at here is us limiting it to really 2 contractors per company. So it gives you a sense of how many companies are in one place. And we're going to talk about this project in a bit, but this is us talking about which liquid applied air sealer works best, which one of our details works best, which is the right way to install windows, and they're debating forever about how to tape it and deal with it. And they're picking apart our details like you cannot imagine. And they think we hate it, but we love it. We're walking out with pages of notes of how to do this faster and better. And they are now sharing blower doors. They're in some cases they've shared employees. It has created a whole other way of dealing with this with these contractors that's made it much faster, much better, much cheaper, and for us, more successful. And it's taken the heat off of everyone where you've got an issue or problem. Everybody's comparing notes. Everybody's still doing it, and I think really enjoying it. And for me, this is one of those truly repeatable, copyable things. And you've got a bunch of people like Michael Maines has been doing BS and beer. I mean, you've got a bunch of people who are doing similar stuff, and I just feel like it's a copyable thing. Everyone should do it. It has really changed the way we do it. But creating that repeatable approach, which will come up in the next slide as Amy starts to talk, you can go to that one. I feel like I
have to pause you for a second, Michael.
Yeah.
Before we start the next slide, you said something about your very first meeting, and people don't realize having a first meeting takes a minute to grow an audience. As you said, some people didn't want to share their secrets and whatnot. I'm going to put you on the spot because I think I know part of the answer. Can you recall the first 5 or 6 folks that were at that first meeting?
Yes, I can. Yeah, so I actually showed up late because that's who I am, and it was Amy's job. She was already inside, and they had started, and actually there were 2 or 3 contractors lurking outside, waiting to see which one would go in first. Again, they met each other, they knew each other, they compete heavily with each other. But I convinced them all going. I'm like, guys, it'll be fun, it'll be fine. And then that first meeting was interesting, and Kevin Brennan was there for that one. In fact, actually, he and Amy kind of really, and Owen Clean, who was the contractor on that one, were really kind of running that. And that was at a time when there just wasn't a lot of product available as well. So we're just kind of finding our way through this. So then what we've got is a situation where they find their way in, and all of a sudden everybody's, Owen's openly showing the issues he's having and with the problems he's having and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden all the iPhones come out. smartphones come out, and everybody's sharing their images, and that's why as soon as someone started to share something, everybody started to share everything, and it was really nice. It was a good meeting.
I think
So,
I only got 3 names there. I think there's 3 more names.
Hmm?
You said it was Kevin Brennan,
Well,
Amy.
yep. And Frankie and Will were in there as well. Yeah.
Frankie and Will. Got it.
They'll be coming up next.
Who the heck's Frankie and Will? I don't know anybody named Frankie and Will.
I was expecting Sam. Sam was at
Oh,
that meeting.
God.
That was my guess.
That's hilarious. Sam would kill me. Yeah. Sam, yeah. So that's our first passive house, actually, when I think about it. So our first passive house was because we worked next to Ken and Levinson and Sam McAfee. And I made fun of Sam for years, which is fun to do. And he could take it. But then we hired Sam, and Sam was our passive house consultant. And yeah, Sam is one of those process guys. He wants to figure out the best process. What's the best way to do things? And he'll rethink it over and over again. And yeah, Sam was pretty critical to that. And Sam was our passive house consultant on a few of these. And yeah, you're right, Sam. Yeah, that's funny. Sam would kill him.
So Dave, my tip to Sam was not reflective on my impeccable interviewing skills that everyone knows me for. It's actually a blast in time, because I knew Sam back then, and I didn't know Michael. Surprisingly, I knew Kevin and Sam and Ken. So that was I'm glad we got Sam's name mentioned.
Yeah.
And we can move to the next slide.
Yeah, let's tag Sam so he's in the comments if he's not already out there. Amy, I think you're up.
All right, great. So yeah, one of the I would say the first thing that we usually focus on with a client is all the passive house benefits. The fact that a passive house means no boiler and less mechanical equipment in terms of the heating side, and less duct work, because your temperatures are more stable throughout the home, so you don't need to bring the ducts out necessarily to the very perimeter, blasting out over a window or a door. We can keep the mechanical equipment more centered or in the core of the house, and it's just smaller ducts too, so it makes it easier to route everything through, less soffits. In this photo here, for example, you can see that we were able to keep the ducts just neatly in the wall. We didn't have to really fur that wall out very much to get that duct in, whereas back in the day, you'd have a much larger ductwork and more to contend with. No radiators, no radiator piping, no need for in-floor heating. We only do in-floor heating if a client really wants it in a bathroom, but it's electric. It's just an added luxury. It's not something that's required for the heating load. So it really just sets you free in terms of those mechanical constraints. And then other benefits that we always tell the client is you have an air-sealed home, so with constant filtered fresh air. So you have a cleaner home with it just is fresher when you walk in, and just feels better. And an air-sealed home means less bugs and dust and just things, critters you don't want in your home. So
there's Amy, there's an endless amount of check marks you can add to this wonderful chart. There's so much more space when you talk about that manifold and the boiler and the flue, which is often a large chimney area, and the radiators. Those are huge space hogs, and on top of it, they're noisy, right? And so you have more space, no combustion, and a quiet house. God, can you imagine someone wanting that?
And then coming back to that house, that client, I remember Sam McAfee, who this was his second passive house with us, was with us with this client. And it was actually the space she'd save and the lack of radiators that he was kind of like really harping on that. And it was one of the reasons she chose to do passive. It was kind of Sam's insistence that you do this, no radiators, you get all that space. And Amy and the crew, they've got that design with that glass on both sides of that room. It's really nice.
So, I mean, to simplify this for people that don't understand it, basically, you need a lot less equipment because of how well you've insulated and sealed the house. So you do not need all the big boilers. You do not need all the big ductwork because it's taking a ton versus 3 or 6 tons to do the same amount of space. And I think that's kind of the important thing for builders out there that are tuning in. There's another cost savings to building passive. So you may put money into the walls and the insulation and the air barriers and ceiling, but you're also going to be lowering your load on the really expensive stuff like mechanicals. Am I out of line?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's where the money savings is. I mean, hopefully you're saving enough, and especially on high-end residential. I really feel that anybody who's doing a high-end residential house who's not doing passive is just because they didn't know about passive.
Right.
It's only because we're already on those houses spending so much money on the mechanical, so much money on windows, so much money on control systems that we don't use. I mean, I'm in a passive house. My heat's not on. I don't need a control system. It's like 30 or 40 degrees outside today. I don't need a control system because the heat's not on. It won't be on for at least another month or two. So it's amazing how much you can save. So especially in a high-end residential house, it pays.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you smaller when I did that. So,
So we're very quickly.
I thought a way of telling Michael to be quiet. No, I'm just
quiet.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I apologize. We're very quickly at 33 past the hour. I'd like to pause for a moment and just see who's in the audience real quick. And there's a line that Michael hasn't got to yet, but he's been dancing around it. And when he says any luxury or high end home, he means all homes. In my words, that's how I hear it. And it's the attributes. That's my favorite line that you use. Don't talk about the science or the energy. That's given. That's part of the construction crew. But for the consumer, it's quiet and it's comfortable. And I love your videos that show the door open and the door closed. And you're in New York, right? Those streets, they're not quiet. They are not quiet. And your room right now, it's quiet.
Yeah. So, well, here's what I suggest, Mark. We have one more slide with Amy. Let's get through that slide with Amy. Then let's go to the questions, and then we can get to the next round because we are at 33 minutes and we have a couple more presenters to bring in. So we're gonna speed round a little bit.
Amy, you got 45 minutes on the next slide.
Don't go over, Amy.
So that leads into our systematic approach that we've developed over the years and with the various projects we've worked on. The photo that we just showed in the previous slide was the second passive house we ever worked on. And as Mike mentioned, the way that we educated the client and can kind of convince them to do passive house was focusing on those benefits. If you get too scientific, it tends to sort of make their eyes glaze over, and that you really just all you need to say is that it's more energy efficient, and move on from that point, and then focus on all the benefits for them, and that's how they hop right in. And then from there, involving the passive house consultant from the very beginning during schematic design is really important. Basically, once we have the plans and the envelope determined is when we bring in the consultant, because at that point they can start to weigh in on the overall package and the passive house, how it fits into the PHPP model, and really give some good feedback. And so at that point it's a back and forth going forward, and then it's starting also the certification process early, getting them on board and sending them the drawings ahead of time, nailing down those problem areas that are going to be thermal bridges, and understanding kind of what your biggest challenges are so that you can work on them as you go, as opposed to like last minute emergencies on site while the contractor's calling you for answers. So again, just getting the team tackling those ahead of time is super helpful. And then involving a contractor as early as possible as well. And if they're not certified, getting them certified from the very beginning before they even step foot on site. Now that we've worked with a lot of our contractors who they've already done passive houses, it's just amazing how the information and learning, it's like, it just spirals and picks up momentum. But in the beginning, we did have to kind of convince the contractors that it was required. We had one that only the project manager got certified, and it was problematic because the guys who were really on the site every day didn't quite pick up on those essential principles, and so we really struggled with that first passive house. So getting them trained from the very beginning, and spreading that knowledge among these subs as well was really important. We even had a kickoff meeting to make sure that all the subs knew what they were getting into, and then openly sharing that knowledge and receiving feedback along the way. Mike already talked about that, but we opened up our sites and shared the knowledge.
I think
Perfect.
that's important. Architects and certified passive house consultants and designers and the engineers and the people that certify, they all go through this rigorous passive house training. But the passive house tradesperson or the passive house builder, whether you're PHI or FIAS, oftentimes get brought in late, and your list shows that needs to be a part of the beginning. It is not uncommon for the building owner or who's ever working on the development, is not uncommon for them to actually sponsor that tradesperson or builder to take that training. And it's also not uncommon for later that tradesperson or builder to pay back that person who did that, because it is a life-changing skill that they bring to the table. And those 5 steps that you said there, Amy, on your list, it was involve, right? And it was share the knowledge. And that's not always common in construction. Michael brought that up earlier. And I just think it's great that you take the time to point that out as the architecture side and the one who you initially liaise with the client. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. So, Amy, listen, thanks for presenting with us. Stick around for these comments that we're going to see, and then we'll keep you in the fish tank, and we'll bring everybody back in the end. What do you think?
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so stick with us here. All right, here we go. Comments starting from the top. Anybody know this one? Hey, Prudence, hello from Philadelphia. Love it.
Philly with a PH. Philly with a PH.
Philly with a PH. And then we have Andrew Fishman. Hello from the Isle of Staten. And he also said, by the way, 1994 was the year Michael Ingui gave up his Carmen Gee to have a family.
Yeah, gotta love that.
We gotta learn more about that one, don't we?
No, we don't. No,
we don't. Well, listen, Andrew, just let me know if you want to come on and share that story with us.
He sold me a Carmen Ghia, Volkswagen Carmen Ghia that broke down all the time, and Diane, my wife, hated, and I had to sell it anyway. It was a good car while I had it, though.
I love it. So we got Tom Easel, New York City via Miami in the house. Hey, thanks for joining us. You know what? And I love this guy right here, Andrew Seeley. Quite quartet to start off today. Good laughs and commentary. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. All right, let me keep scrolling down here. So we got Sean, say no more. Good morning, BS Friday. Where are the 5 passive house principles, Mike? He said, what are they? I said, where?
I'm gonna say that they are the attributes, because it's the only thing I focus on, and that is that you'll have a house that is quiet, serene, that will be relatively bug-free, that needs almost no heat, and that has filtered fresh air 24/7.
Perfect.
It's my own version, Sean.
Hey, Sean is cringing as he drives across Vancouver.
I can't explain to you how much I've been waiting for Sean to ask me that question for a long time and answer that way.
Sean doesn't drive; he has a helicopter, Mark.
Oh, he has a helicopter,
or a boat, or a boat,
or a boat. Yeah, right. He's everywhere. I love this guy. All right.
So Sean, in the chat, as you pull over because you're about to hit something, you can add those 5 passive house principles, and someone in the chat, one of Michael's friends from New York, please tag Sam so he realizes that we're talking about him today.
Yeah, I think somebody did tag him. I've seen some comments. All
Good,
right,
good.
we got Adam White in the house. Good morning, guys and girls, all the way from across the pond in England. This is a good one right here. A good comment, by the way. LinkedIn, I would imagine additional constraints on energy balance with orientation, heat gains, or loss from neighbors.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the neighbors help. The party walls are nice. You get heat from the party walls, which is nice. And then depending on what your orientation is, I mean, we're south facing here, so in the winter, I'm going to my heater's right there. You can see it right behind me. The heat comes in; it does not go back out. In the summer, you have to shade it. So orientation makes a big difference. But it's harder in the city to do passive house, but at the same time, sometimes easier. Kind of got to take what you can get.
So, Michael, in Chicago, our streets are a grid system, right? Very much like Utah. And most buildings are east-west orientated, right?
Mhm.
Now, in New York, with the row homes, does it matter? Do they come north, south, east, west, or is there a data on that?
Yeah, both. Yeah, I mean, so so in Brooklyn specifically, it's not quite
Right.
that perfect grid as it is in Manhattan. But so in Manhattan, you'll get the north south more than you get anything else. But in Brooklyn, we're doing a bunch of projects, right, Amy? Where it's where we're north south, east west, northeast. We've got them.
Usually angled north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I would almost like to engage Ken Levinson that on April 1st, he put out an article that in New York, the new law is row homes are allowed to put windows on the side of their houses without permission from their neighbors.
hmm
That would be a great April article for Ken. If you're out there, you know what I'm talking about, brother.
Well, I'm not even going to get into the fire code then. Let's move on here. I already know where that's headed. All right, listen, we got Cameron Duncan.
Enerfit. Thank you.
I love it.
Yes.
Enerfit.
I think he's just clarifying that our so all the projects that we're talking about hit Enerfit standard. We like to try to hit the new construction thresholds if we can, but we are officially, when we get certified, we're usually getting the Enerfit certification.
Yeah,
So-
I would say we're a good mix of by component, interfit. We've got a couple of new construction, and one of the ones that Amy was showing is new construction passive plus. So kind of a mix.
I don't think the audience has any idea what Enerfit is.
Nope. I don't even know. I think so. Can I put in my 2 cents? Anybody care?
Soapbox,
Go for it.
brother.
I am in a soapbox. This is one of the things with our industry. There's so many different things, and it's making it so hard for the average person to really figure this stuff out. I mean, I think we intentionally try and confuse ourselves. I don't know, but what is some of the differences? And I get I asked the question, I keep talking. That's normal for me. I get the idea of, having passive house design interior, and then you have exterior things, and then you have the wellness and living of space, right? How do humans react in certain space and designing to that? So where does this fit in, Enerfit?
So I mean, just to start with how we look at every project we're on is just how well can you build the box first, and then how healthy can that box be? So if you really were to look at it by component versus interfit versus full passive versus passive plus, it's simply, sometimes you can't, especially with a retrofit, which is a house that you're renovating, sometimes because of site conditions, or you're just not going to demo as much of it, you can do it by component, which means it's enough passive house components in it that you've reduced your energy needs by that much. Sometimes you could do interfit, which is basically you can't get full passive because of lots of different things, site conditions, and again, it's a renovation, so you don't have control over everything. And then you go to your full passive because you can get further. But you just look at them all the same way. You from the cellar up, and some of the next slides you'll see that it's cellar up. It's what's my best cellar? What are my best sidewalls I could do?
Right.
What's the best roof I could do? We work in houses that we don't demo completely. People would kill us if we did that. But they're still passive measures. So that's, for me, it's instead of, and what our office does, and in my funny way of answering Sean as well, is we're really just looking at all these houses to say, what's the best we can do given what we have, and whatever slot that fits into, it fits into.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so listen, we're at 45. We're going to take one more comment just because we want to know. I have a feeling this person. So Jennifer, behind the scenes, a colleague of ours, John Knapp, loves the aesthetics and functionality of the Baxt Ingui Architects home in Brooklyn.
That's fun. John's a good friend, and John lives in a fully certified Passive Plus house. Actually, I think it was the first Passive Plus house in the U.S. There's another one in California, and ever since we were just lucky, we got it certified before other people did. But there's a bunch of them now, which is great. And and John John's been pretty happy. He's been living there for a while. It's been nice to kind of keep track and talk to people about how they're interacting with the houses and using the houses. He's a good client, good person, good family.
Michael, that reminded me of a quote I heard this week hanging out with Stephen Basic. He says, "It's better to be lucky than good."
Sometimes.
Well, listen, everybody, we're going to give some more shout outs here in just a little bit. We got a whole list of people that are saying hello and a bunch of banner and some more questions further down, but we want to make sure we get through this presentation, and then we'll speed round through the questions. How's that sound to everybody?
Cool.
Yeah, I know we're not going to get through it, so we'll just keep purging forward.
We're going to get through it. Watch these other architects. They're quick, Mark. I already know it.
Okay, bring them on.
Amy, thank you so much. I'm going to put you back in the fish tank, okay?
Sounds
We'll bring
good.
you
Thank
back
you.
at the end, Amy. Hang tight.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. I got to figure out how to put her in the fish tank. Hey, there we go. Hey, Michael, we lost your face. There it is. All right. So moving on, looks like we are bringing in Frankie. Frankie, I hope you're ready, man. I'm yelling your name, so you're prepared.
I am.
Frankie, thanks for joining us today. So, man, are you getting tired of waiting for us? I mean, we're just talking away here, and you guys are patiently waiting. And
You couldn't hear me, but you guys are doing a really good job. So it was fun to listen to. So it was great.
I love it.
Frankie and Amy are a good example of it maybe being a little too collaborative. They met in the office and now they're married.
She's right over there. I heard the whole thing.
You cannot say anything bad about Amy.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's good to know because she's in the next room. I love it.
Sure.
I love it. All right, so Frankie, I'm going to put the slides back up. Why don't, before I do that, just give us a real quick rundown of your background real quick.
I've been with Mike at Baxt Ingui for the last 14 years. It was my first job out of college. It's been a lot of fun. They gave us a lot of creative freedom. I mean, it's fun just to see some of our projects in retrospect. I haven't looked back at some of our projects. They look great and they work great. And it's just been just a lot of fun kind of dealing with kind of this new technology. I remember a couple of years ago, when we were kind of first getting into passive and learning about passive, I remember the first time it went on site to meet with a contractor on it. And, we're sitting there going, "Oh, you've been building houses longer than I've been alive? Well, I got great news. I know how to do it better than you right now. Pay attention." And a couple of the older guys didn't take to it too kindly. But after they started getting into it and doing it, they realized that it was a better way to build. And it was funny. It was some of the guys that were pressing back the hardest in the beginning that accepted it the most and went out and got, the cameras to see the walls and see where we're losing heat from or energy from, and buying their own blower door so they could run their own tests on their own. So it's been really interesting to see this progress and just see how fast over a short period of time that it's kind of being embraced.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thank you for that, and let's hop into it, and I will hold my comments about Amy till a later date.
Thank you. Talk later.
All right, here we are. This is where we left off with Amy, so we're going to go to the next slide. Look at that.
Look at that. So
That's beautiful.
What you're looking at here is a new slab in the cellar of what will be a certified passive house. What's important here is the 15 mil yellow Stego wrap that's run underneath the slab, and right now is temporarily taped up on the structural haunch on the far side of the picture. That haunch allowed us to drop the slab about 2 feet down, which gave us about 8-foot clearance height in the cellar, which is really great usable space. What you can't see is underneath the slab and the Stego is 4 inches of rigid insulation, which help prevent energy loss into the ground. If you could flip to the next guy, you will see this is done.
One more.
One
That's
more.
my mistake.
Oh, there you go.
Good picture, by the way. I love
Yeah,
the crown in the top.
That'll
It
be
was lovely.
next.
I just wasn't prepared to talk about it.
That'll be next.
Yeah. What you're looking at here is the other side of the cellar a few weeks later, where it's more complete, and you can see where the stego is run up over the haunch on this side and up the wall, and where it ties into the stove gold liquid applied membrane on the party wall. What might not be evident in this photo, but is apparent when you're on site, is the really good tape work. And the tape is what connects the two materials, the stow and the stego. And if that's not done really, really well, you get little gaps or little holes where air can escape, and it makes it very difficult to meet your blower door numbers.
Yeah.
The blower door, being one of the things that determines whether or not your house can be certified.
So Dave, that yellow stego, a lot of people use, like a 4 or 6 mil, just clear poly, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That stego, I believe, is 12 or 15 mil. It is a breeze to put down. It handles more than foot traffic. It handles dropped hammers and ladders. And that tape that you get, I remember my tape being red. Here I see gray. That tape you're not getting off. Like, good night, nurse. It's just on there like flies on stank. Amazing product.
So let me ask this, and I'm asking because I know the answer. Is that wrap that's coming under the foundation up the wall and then tied into the wall to create a continuous air barrier so there is no leaking even from under the slab?
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to help create that envelope that we're looking for. And it also prevents moisture from coming in from underneath, which is an added benefit.
In most applications that we did, I don't know if you did it here, the foam is under the stego, right? So when you pour the concrete, the foam is not getting wet from the moisture of the concrete.
Yep. And then there are a couple of products that do it. Instead of, we've got Glavel that now takes the foam out of it. So it's foam glass. That's a really cool product that kind of combines both the 4 inches of insulation, plus it's got the gravel below. I saw that comment on the side, reminded me of it. So there's a bunch of, what's happening now, there's so many great products. I know we're running short on slides. If you want to bring the other ones up, we can bring Will in. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. All right, let's bring Will in then. Hey, Will, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Enjoying the talk so far.
Awesome. Well, it's not over yet. The best is just starting. It sounds like, right? We got a couple more in the wind. So, hey, Will, give us a little of your background real quick, and if you got some dirt on Michael, feel free to share it. I'll mute him so he can't hear you.
It's a pain.
So I've been with Baxt Ingui for about 9 years. Just like Frankie, in a funny way, where I came right out of school. And maybe like Mike, thought I might leave a year or two in, like a lot of people do, but 9 years later, I'm still here. And got into the passive house thing with Mike and the team pretty early on, and actually worked under or with Frankie and Amy when I first started. So it's really kind of a family atmosphere, which has been really great and maybe a little uncommon in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, you guys got married couples there. This is cool. It really is cool. It just shows that
Two married couples.
Two married couples, right? But listen, I think there's a lot to be said for that, right? Especially if somebody has enough faith to put their family's income into one place. That means you guys are serious about what you do, and I think people work hard for that. 100%. All right, love it. So I got to reshare here. We lost the share, but it'll only take me 1 second.
It just goes to show you passive house brings people together. How about that?
There you go.
The 6th attribute.
Love it.
Hey, I see that before.
Yeah, so this picture is what's interesting about this house. It's a passive house. It's still under construction now. Andrew Fishman, who we called out before, is the contractor for this guy. So give him due props on this. The interesting thing about this house that makes it a little bit different than some of the other ones was that it was fully intact when it was purchased by our clients. The crown you see at the top, Mark, you had called that out. That's the original crown from the 1840s. It's covered now, but the original pine floor is underneath the protection there. So we had two things. We had a client who wanted a passive house, and we had a client who wanted to keep the original details of their house. And we needed to accomplish both of those things. And I think maybe the next couple of slides will kind of describe more about how we did that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I can't speak enough. For me, it's easy to put this on a drawing and then ask Andrew and his team to execute it.
Wow.
But basically, the house was demoed around a lot of the original details. We kept everything. The original stair, we'll see in a minute. All the original plaster crowns in the hallways and in the main spaces were all kept. All supported during the demolition and construction. And then we actually used, in this case, the crown to tie the air barrier in, because there's really no other way to do it. We did not remove the crown. So what you're seeing in the bottom, it's the same two windows. You're seeing Intello come up and tape to the bottom of that plaster crown. And then on the top side of it, you're seeing the Proclima tape, then taped to a piece of plywood that's run horizontally back to the wall and then up to the second floor and continuing on.
Will, what year is this house?
Now you're putting me on the spot. I think it was built in 1846, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
It was 1840s, 1850s row house.
So Fine Home Building Magazine and Green Building Advisor, I think you need a special article that says air sealing is done using 1846 extended crown. I mean, this crown is a masterpiece. And those contractors that carefully did surgery on this house to remove God knows what, and then surgically put in, shout out to 475, these membranes and tapes. Dang, this picture of all the building science stuff I've ever seen on existing buildings, this steals the show.
Yeah, it's impressive to do that and not damage any of that for the age that it is. I mean, I know my shaky hands couldn't have done it.
I agree with you there.
All right.
Yeah, let's jump to the. So this picture is actually taking a little bit of a step back in time. Again, the same two windows. But recently we've started, because of some of the vapor drive and things coming in through the masonry walls, we've started to do a liquid applied air barrier on the inside of the masonry, which is what you see in the black. That's the Viscon, another Proclima product. Again, crown stayed in place the entire time. And then frame the interior walls inside that and kind of continue on. Do the Intello on the inside of that, blow the insulation into the Intello cavity and continue on. I think it's important to say, maybe as a firm, this house is not landmarked. So we weren't necessarily bound to the historic nature of the home. But like I said in the beginning, and I think it's true of our firm too, we felt it was important to keep those things. So rather than look at exterior insulation strategies or other ways to do this, we felt it was important to restore the exterior of the home as well, and bring back the historic brownstone and woodwork that was there as well.
And if you look at this window, oh, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna have 4 hours of questions. Go for it, Michael.
So if you look at this window, this window detail is one of those things that we debate forever. And this window detail is kind of where we've got two more details after this or two more versions of this that are even better than this one now, because we just keep changing it. But this one, it's not even touching the masonry. It's the way it's framed. There are no thermal bridges there. And what's nice about the plywood and the way that's set up, it lets you finish a lot of the interior without even having the window in place, and you can just slide it right in. So it's really nice.
Wow.
The next slide is really interesting as well, because it kind of goes back to where Will was describing this crown. I think it's the one the other way. There you go. This really starts to show that crown detail that Will was describing as well.
Yeah. So what you're looking at here, Mark and everybody, is you're looking at the west wall of the house, which is the lot line wall, but actually is exposed to the outside. So we had to treat it as an exposed wall. So those are the joists coming in, the original timber joists coming into the masonry wall, that all stayed in place. You can start to see some of the structural work that we had to do to many of those joists, sistering them and bringing them up to where they could hold the up to basically current code. The plywood in between are individual pieces of plywood that are cut in and set just on top of the plaster crown. So the edge of that plywood that's away from the masonry wall, that's the edge of the plaster crown below it.
Okay, so the plywood is the air barrier, and then your sistered joist, is that a Viscon or is that a ice and water shield that I'm seeing?
That was a Viscon application, and then it was it's going to escape me now, but it's the Proclima kind of mastic sealant to go around the edge of the joist and go around and kind of caulk the plywood as well.
So the contractor on this one is the gentleman named Andrew, if I remember right.
Yep.
And I don't know if Kevin Brennan was in on this one, but holy shnikes, this is a 4-hour episode just about this window detail here. Michael, I thought you were going to be the star of the show, but the details of your project, that's the star of the show. This is beautiful. Bless your heart.
Yeah, I'd be remiss not to mention, because Andrew's reminding us in the chat here. John and Ed from Building Type had a huge presence in our office in general, but definitely on this project to help us make sure that we understood exactly how to do this, and we're there on site many days to make sure we were doing it right.
Yeah, it's been really a great whole team atmosphere, and this project is one of those projects that you saw that photo of where we did the contractor collective and we had everybody come. So that was a lot of fun.
In the world of existing buildings, this detail can, and I prescribe, should be done meticulously again and again. That's the joy of these details. It doesn't work for every project, clearly, but in a lot of the projects, this is your silver bullet, and I'm glad that we can take the time to do this today. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. I think we might have
Next one.
maybe one more. Yeah.
That's
Same
an
one.
LSL stud, Michael.
Yeah.
Andrew.
I'm sorry?
That's an LSL stud there.
It is, yeah. Yeah, there's another picture of a stair, and I think we can end to that one because I think I may have included too many images. But what's cool about this,
I think we can't skip over this.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah. So this is just like proof that in these houses, you don't have to rip them apart to do a passive house. So actually, we'll look at this for 3 seconds, but go to the next one. Because that's where the real story is. And this talks a little bit about Andrew. So that pine floor is this pine floor. That's the thermal break and a brand new joist inside, a thermal break from that front wall. That's Andrew Will. I'm going to give you some props in this one. So Will was there a lot as well with Building Type. This is way before you're thinking about your finished floors, way before you put up any framing in the house. And they knew how far back to cut the pine. They knew the client was going to keep the pine. We knew we wanted that wall to go straight up and get that air seal and that continuous insulation. And this is just a contractor, architect, and engineer and kind of past house consultant all working together, kind of make that detail work. And that's the only reason you can keep those existing floors. So you've got existing joists, existing floors, existing crown, and then the next one, Will, you can jump in on, which is the stair.
Yeah, we have Dylan with us as well, just so you know.
He did join. Good.
Yeah, he's been there patiently for a while. So you let me know when you want to bring him in.
All right, cool. We'll just do the stair as our last image.
Sure. So these are some images of the existing wood stair in the house, the original stair of the house. The one on the left, it's the images from the parlor floor going up at the second. And again, it was critical that we kept it. We didn't want a new stair. We wanted the original stair, the original handrail, original newel, all of the original parts. But one of the questions was, how do you air seal behind it or around it, or what do you do? In this particular case, there are portions of the party wall that the plaster was in really, really good shape, and there were portions of it that it wasn't in good shape. And I guess I should step back and say that plaster, when it's done right, is airtight and can be used as an air barrier. So in this case, on the top side of the stair, the plaster comes down and just comes down tight to the inner stringer of the stair. And then on the underside, which is the picture you see on the right, we've got the Viscon that comes up up to that inner stringer, and then for good measure, we kind of go over the inner stringer and kind of really coat everything really well. To be honest, before the first blower door test, we weren't quite sure how well sealed that was. We didn't really know, but it goes back to the process to some degree, where we like to do a blower door test basically as soon as you possibly can, as soon as it makes sense to kind of take some of the variables out of the equation. In this case, we did it with Intellos wrapping over the masonry opening, so the windows weren't in yet. And we were able to say, do a blower door test, see what the number was, and say, okay, one, the stair is working, it's tight enough, and two, our Intello is installed really well, and we can now move on and install windows and know that we don't have to worry about things like the walls being the leaky point now. Now it's the windows and some of the more finer details.
What a beautiful staircase. The fact that it's a perfect recipe. That client, the right architect, the voluntary certification, and the right group of contractors and suppliers allowed that house to now go for, who knows, another 150 years, hopefully. That's
been a fun
beautiful,
one.
beautiful
Fun project. And, and the projects we're on now are kind of a culmination of a lot of different things. You know, you bringing up Sam before. I mean, we were lucky to have done a house next to Sam and Ken. And we were lucky enough that Sam would work with us on and be our passive house consultant. We were lucky enough to get to be introduced to John and Ed and have Kevin involved in all of our jobs and teach all of our contractors. So we're in a really good spot where there's a whole kind of circuit of folks around us that makes it possible for we're really a design firm. And so for me, you know, as a design firm, we're not doing it in-house. Where so it means that really any architect who's doing this level of stuff with the right consultants and the right team, they can make it happen.
So Dave, you've heard his name a couple of times today. A lot of people in the audience would know him because of the New York base, but his name is Kevin Brennan. You know, I guess first and foremost, he's an incredible trainer in person. Happens to be a New York firefighter, but he has trainings and insulation courses. The man is very detailed, and most everyone in the industry has met him or heard about his projects with the likes of Michael and Ken and all those folks. So that's who Kevin is.
Awesome. Love it. I love it. Hey, why don't we take a minute here? Because there's a ton of people that have been making comments. We haven't gotten to them yet. I know this show's going over, but I see, you know, we don't want to lose some people before we have a chance to say hello to them. How about it? Everybody all right with that?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. So here's a question. Chris Chan, Sukup, I believe. Hey, Chris, I would imagine additional constraints on energy balance with orientation, heat gain, or loss from neighbors. We already did that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
But this time, Chan got the shout out. So, hey, Chris.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I had to go back and look. But Chris Chan, I don't know if you guys know Sukup, Hami Milan, and yeah, for sure. I mean, a great company. They're actually doing passive house windows now, I believe, and they're also they're in the machine business, scissor tables and all that stuff. So, Chris, man, always a pleasure. Thanks for jumping on today. I love to support those who support us.
Chris Chan has not missed a Passive House Accelerator Global Happy Hour yet. He's not missed one. He's a dedicated professional. Thank you, Chris.
Love it. I love it. All right, let me keep going down the line. Prudence is having a lot of good conversations back and forth. So I'm going to skip down. If I skip anybody, please let me know. There's a lot going on in here. All right. Mike, you were lucky. You answered my question. So this one, I don't know. Sean Senamore, Mike, you were lucky that Amy answered his questions. I figured I just.
She answered it the right way. Yes.
So thank you, Amy. We know that. All right. Moving on down the line. Sean McStay, a better construction. Siga. North America. Love it. Do you think the passive house will be here permanently, or will building codes eventually reach that level and passive house as a standard will disappear?
I hope so. I mean, I got to tell you, I feel like, and everybody's doing passive. And I still remember when everybody's like, nobody will do passive. How do you do passive? And all of a sudden, now a lot of people are doing passive house. And the conversations we're having on the Passive House Accelerator, but also in our office, it's beyond passive house now. It's actually gone to, okay, what about embodied carbon? How much should we demo? what happens next? Now that I've built the better box, now can I do solar? How am I operating the building? Can I monitor the building, which I'm trying to do on my own home, like getting my energy levels down even more. So it's beyond passive. So I think if we're all lucky, they'll change the code so that we don't care what we call it, and I never care what we call it. I don't typically mention the word passive house because it scares clients away. But you just say better performing house, and they're like, oh yeah, I want that. So yeah, I think the whole industry is way beyond passive house now. There's so many kind of fun and interesting things happening. It's a good time, and now there's so many products available. We were scrounging for product, and now you've got all these different air sealing companies, window companies. It's a great time to do passive house now.
Yeah. Sean McStay, I think the rule is always go beyond. It just so happens that passive house is beyond code. That's why the subject started today. And Jennifer, I got an idea from what Sean said. I think it's a new bumper sticker T-shirt. It's passive house or bust.
Passive house or bust.
I think Andrew Fishman is having the most fun in the chat, and I'm enjoying them.
I think so, yeah.
And he deserves it. He's building some good passive houses for us, but that's fun.
I love it. Well, we're gonna start speed rounding. We're already an hour and 12 minutes here, so let's speed round through some of these questions and make sure we bring Dylan in as well, so he gets his sunshine, as we call it, and we'll keep going.
Hey, Dave, can we pull Dylan in while we're doing the questions so we could get his awesome laughter during the questions?
No, we cannot.
Hello. How are you guys?
Dylan, you got the best colored background of any of us. What's up, Dylan? Tell us a little bit about you. I wouldn't imagine that you have anything to do with Michael Ingui based on your last name.
No, it's just kind of a coincidence. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not like we live like 20 feet away from each other or anything. But but yeah, so I'm Dylan. I'm a 16-year-old high school student. I kind of got involved in passive because of my dad, who got involved because of Sam. So it's like a long train of like just hearing from other people. And then I believe, almost 2 years ago now, I went to the conference in Pittsburgh, and that just kind of got me hooked because I always made fun of my dad about it. I was like, what are you doing that's like so crazy? It can't be that crazy. This by the end of the day, I was like, okay, how do I learn more about this? How do I get involved? Within the year, I got certified, and so now I'm the world's youngest consultant, and that's just kind of a summary of everything.
Hey, listen, I mean, that's inspiring, right? I mean, 16, if I think about my daughters are 12, if they do what you have done at 16, I'm retiring and going away because they'll probably be okay. They won't need me anymore.
It was a funny conference in Pittsburgh because I never go to the technical talks.
Oh, he shoved me in them. He was like, "Oh yeah, you'd love this. You'd love this. It'll be great for you." And he was thinking I was gonna walk out like, this is so boring. I walked out so fun, like my favorite.
Now you know how we feel, Dylan.
Yeah.
But, Mark, I think let's bring everybody back in and then we'll speed round through the last questions. Sound good?
Yeah, and I want to say what Dylan achieved, just like Passive House, is supposed to be shared and copied. So there's supposed to be people like your daughters, Dave. Maybe when you're back in Pittsburgh, you could have the first set of twin girls that are Passive House consultants and designers, right? So it's always meant to pass it on so that they're younger and younger and younger. Let's get a 12-year-old doing this,
please. I guarantee a 12-year-old could.
Well, we can definitely give it a try for sure. Let me mix everybody up here a little bit. So, all right, listen, let's keep moving through here with everything. Dylan, you are an inspiration. They should have a billboard of you on the side of 95, right straight down through Jersey or the. No, you guys you're in Brooklyn, or maybe we'll put it on the Long Island Expressway, or I don't know. We'll find a way. Maybe we can get the Blue Angels to write your name in the air.
Wow. Think big. I love it.
All right, here we go. All right. Did we get to this one? Even in heavily shaded, PH will still use far less energy than conventional construction, stating the obvious for those whom it's not obvious.
I will say, I agree. I mean, our house, so it's funny, in the middle of the winter, it's February, it's 15 degrees out. If it's sunny, our house is hot. if it's shady, it would take like 5 days of no sun for our house to start dropping in temperature. It has nothing to do with the temperature, just has to do with sun. But I think even in a shady environment, that the passive house is just gonna float right through. So in terms of like resiliency, I mean, I'd be upset if New York City lost its power, and Dylan would be very upset because we'd have no internet. But we'd be fine.
Yeah, I see you got the gaming headset on. You're ready to go. You probably got bigger than any of us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here we go. Joe Hutchins, Ravaya. Yes, great to hear you highlighting the benefits of solar orientation and the importance of site-specific design, not standardized solutions that have no site or context relevance.
So true.
Gotta love Joel, man. Thanks for tuning in, Joel. Hope all is well. Buzz Hellitzer, hey buddy, do tell. He loves joining in and he loves commenting. So thank you so much. Cameron Duncan, an architect with Maryland, Washington, D.C. area park and planning agency. I guess everybody was asking who, what, when, and where in the comments. We have Robert Seaman. Hey, Mark. Oh,
Robert, I know your ears were ringing this week. Good to see you, brother.
All right, moving down. Here's I think this is also Chris Chan from Soup Cup America. Is it common for this type of building retrofit to require additional wall thickness to achieve the overall energy goals to code or pH? If so, do you have much need or opportunity to adjust the window position? Thanks for sharing all these projects.
So, one of the images that Amy showed was actually from building type, and bringing your passive house consultant in early helps you do a couple things like figure out what your orientation is. And then we bring them in really early, like a schematic design early, because we don't like to show clients facades with big windows where you can't have them. Or overhangs where you can't have them. And it lets us know where we can have overhangs, where we can do the right windows. And part of that is this wall thickness question. And where does it help you? Where are you just wasting money? You're just making it too thick. And then in our houses, a lot of times the wall thickness can be too thick. We have historic brick that's used to getting heat from the inside, or used to drying out in a certain way. So keeping a vapor open and keeping that wall thickness, we sometimes only have like 4 inches of insulation on the front. So, and we're making up for that somewhere else. So again, kind of having your energy model worked out from your passive house consultant is important. But yeah, you could, in a historic home with historic brick, your insulation can be too thick. It could be a whole issue. So it's always helpful to have a good passive house consultant on board to help us through that.
Man, all this science, right? Everything's science.
Yeah.
Love it. Tom Isle, how about going with foam glass gravel in lieu of rigid insulation under basement slab? Save steps, time, etc.
Yeah, I mean, foam glass it's a great product. They also have the board now for roof. I think it's good for if you're gonna do roof deck and you need to fill. I think foam glass is one of those products that's really gonna blow up. It's such a good product, fully recycled. It's a great product.
Anyone, please add in the chat the different manufacturers and installers of those products so that we could share that and make advancements in our sequencing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cameron Duncan is back again. Have you compared pH with well or fit well approaches? Does it typically already meet those standards?
I have not. If Ed or John were on, they'd be able to answer this better than I could. I know the standards, but we have not.
I love it. All right. Andrew Fishman says 1977 was the year Frankie's vet got tufted red.
And shag carpet. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. All right, look here. So he also says that this young man is a rock star.
Oh,
and I agree.
Wait. It's way too nice.
It is. I don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, listen, you take it while you can. As you get older, you don't get as many comments.
Maybe they're calling you Keith Richards, so it could not be a compliment, maybe.
Right. And we got George Ryman joining us from Shorefoot Foundations in Phoenix. George is a big supporter of the show. Love it. Thanks so much, George. All right, everybody. Mark, we have gotten through all of our comments and questions. If you guys were to leave us with one thing today, what would that one thing be for everybody? That does not do building science, right? Let's talk to the people that we need to have interested. So how about this? Dylan, you went to Pittsburgh, by the way, my hometown. Love it. Thank you. Moving back there in a few months. You went to Pittsburgh and you came back a believer, but you didn't believe it when everybody was telling you about it. You didn't believe it when you listened to your dad talk about it 20 feet from you every day. You went there and then figured it out and you said, you know what? Was it because your dad wasn't telling you and somebody else told you? That's the first question. But the second question was, if we look at this through your eyes, a 16-year-old's eyes, that's kind of how, the rest of the world's looking at it, because we all like to run in our own circles. We all like to talk the same talk and shop, but, we're such a small percentage. So what was it, Dylan, that you learned that made your eyes kind of open up and say, hey, my dad's actually a pretty smart guy?
So for me, this might be like not the stereotypically correct answer, but for me, it was honestly the social aspect of the conference, which is really weird because nothing about Passive House is really supposed to be so-called social. But for me, I went there thinking, I'm just tagging along, I'm just going to hang out for the weekends, learn a thing or two, whatever. But the intelligence and the charisma of the people within this community and the fact that it's so open source, it's just, in the passion that everyone has, there's no way you can say no to that. There's no way that you can say, this is fine. We shouldn't be doing this. It's physically impossible because there's a place within the passive community for everyone, regardless of your age, regardless of everything. I mean, I was a 14-year-old, I was in middle school at the time at an adult Passive House conference, and people are literally just walking up to me, talking to me. You don't get that everywhere. And that's something that you can respect. So for the rest of the world, it's just to make everything seem more human and more just kind of easygoing and more understandable.
That great answer.
What an endorsement. Holy cow. We should have had you as the primary guest.
Yeah. Right. I see a new co-host of the Accelerator coming up here.
There you go. Uh-huh.
Maybe you could bring the much needed young people into our industry for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal.
I agree. All right, Mark, you got anything before we write off here?
I'm blessed with today's conversation. I think it was terrific to show the teamwork, to show what sprouted up on that block in New York, and the cohesiveness that happened between those characters and how it evolved from 6 people. It's important to point that out. You had 6 people, and that is a success. If one person shows up, it's a success. And the team environment that you all have, it shows today, right? You guys were cracking jokes and poking buttons before the show. I know that's part of your personalities. And the last part is, I tell you what, an 1840 air barrier crown is the best ever. That should be the Passive House image of the year. I challenge anyone to find a better image than that. That was beautiful.
You saw my slab, right?
It was beautiful.
Don't worry, Mark. I'll mute him. All right, listen.
Frankly, we can't hear you. Amy's taking all your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Amy, can you just reach through and punch him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would pay for that.
All right, listen, everybody. So this was a great show, and I want to tell everybody we got some great shows coming up again next week. Mark, we're going to plug BS Friday, but first on Monday we have Dr. Ben Corey coming on from Archistar. You guys want to tune in for this because I'm going to tell you what, you don't have to leave your house. You can find a lot anywhere in the country. It tells you the zoning regulations, and all within about 10 seconds, you can build your building in generative design and know exactly what you're buying. It's a gold mine for developers and builders, and this is new technology getting ready to launch. Monday's a big show. Monday's going to be one of those shows where even I am completely overwhelmingly impressed on what they have done.
I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice. Sometimes at the end of the show, Dave, it's hard to be enthusiastic because we expel a lot of energy. Oh. Jennifer, if you're out there, can you put the link to Monday in this? Because that is a topic for the folks of BS Fridays to join Monday. Thank you.
Yeah. Archistar. I mean, it's going to be a big thing. I started sending out some videos, and we'll promote it through the weekend. And then again on Wednesday, we have Lars Everett on from Wixford Tech. Now, these are the guys that are doing all the robots and automation and consulting for like companies like Autovol, these new big manufacturing facilities and volumetric and modular. These are the top dogs in the country. They're doing it from around the world. And these are people that are setting up all the new manufacturing facilities that are working like automobile facilities. So we got a big week coming up. And then, of course, we got Thanksgiving on Thursday, which Miles and I will still be going live to entertain you for a few minutes, but we're going to have drinks. So join us if you like. And then Friday, Mark, what do we got Friday?
Friday is secret. I don't want to go into Friday. That's not fair to our friends, but we forgot Tuesday, Dave.
Well, Tuesday we have Building Modular, and we're waiting for a confirm, but we might have Ryan Wallace on from the Solar Home Factory up in upstate New York, where it's a whole solar home community that they're building up there. So, but I think we will be confirmed for that. You know, it's like herding cats sometimes when, you know, trying to get people to, you know, on the shows and stuff. So it's always changing. We have people like you guys on, right? Ingui Architects. You're busy. You know, business comes before doing something like this. So we appreciate when people make the time for us.
Well, thanks for having us. This is fun.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Michael, is there anything that you have coming up that we need to know about and the audience needs to know about?
Well, I mean, the Accelerator's got some fun stuff. I mean, I wouldn't mind you talking about Tuesday's Tech Tuesday, if you don't mind, Mark. And then Wednesday's Happy Hour will be a lot of fun. But if you go to Passive House Accelerator, you can see some of those as well. So that'll be fun next week. A lot of good stuff happening.
Dylan, maybe in the chat, or Zach, if you're still listening, you guys could put a link so people could register for Wednesday. And Baxt Ingui, all your clients, all the people in your market, thank you for being a part of Building Science BS Friday Live.
Yeah, very much so. All right, everybody. So there we have it. Another great episode of Building Science BS Friday with the Mark Bare Naked Willie. And Amy, thank you so much. Michael, Will, Frankie, thank goodness all these names are here. And Dylan, you're a rock star. When I tune in to the next Passive House or any of those things, I expect to see you as the next co-host, bringing the young generation into this. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Hang tight. We'll come right back to you after the outro. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.